Today we're going to take apart a inside C-clip style axle shaft. This should be a good representation of what you'll pull out of your four-wheel drive pickup truck. Okay, some of the tools that we're going to need to be able to remove this U-joint are going to be some pretty common household tools that you should have. A flathead screwdriver, a mini sledge, and a vise. So the first step that we're going to need to take to remove this U-joint is to place it with the inner axle shaft clamped into your vise. Alright, after you've had your inner axle shaft clamped into your vise, the next step is going to be to remove this C-clip that is in the machined groove in your U-joint cap. The first thing you'll need to do to remove that clip is to locate the end of the clip. And one way to remove the clip to alleviate the pressure is to use the mini sledge that we had talked about before and give a couple taps on the outside of the cap and push that cap in to alleviate the pressure on the clip. After you have alleviated the pressure, use your screwdriver to drive the C-clip up and pull the C-clip out. Okay, now we need to do the other C-clip on the opposite side of the inner shaft. Just like before, locate the end of your C-clip that's on the open side. Give a couple taps on the outside of the cap. And then you've got both of the C-clips off of the inner shaft. Okay, now that you've taken both of the C-clips off of the U-joint caps pressed into the inner shaft, the best way to separate this off of the U-joint now is to turn this and open the jaw of the vise enough to let this yoke ear slide down in between the clamp of your vise. Rest the yoke ear of the outer shaft on top of the vise and use the sledge that we used before and give a couple taps on the top of the axle shaft. And drive out the top U-joint cap. After you've removed the upper cap, you're going to have to flip the axle shaft over. Repeat the process for the other cap. And then the next trick to doing this is you'll have to offset the cross into one side of the inner shaft, angle the cross out, and remove the outer shaft. Now that we've removed the inner shaft off of the U-joint, it's time to work on getting the U-joint out of the outer shaft. The way to do that is to take the axle shaft, and you want to make sure that you stay away from the spline section of the shaft and also the bearing surface of the shaft, and clamp the section in between those two into the vise. And then we'll repeat the process that we did on the inner shaft of tapping the inside of the caps and removing the C-clips. Alright, after you have removed the C-clips out of the U-joint caps on the outer shaft, the next thing that we like to do is to remove the slinger. To remove the slinger flange, you'll just have to give a few taps on the slinger itself. Press it off the shaft. Final step to remove the U-joint now is to remove the axle shaft from the vise. Open the jaw of the vise enough to have the yoke ear of the shaft slide down through, and rest the trunnion of the U-joint on top of the vise itself, and repeat the process that we did with the inner shaft. This U-joint is really rusty, as you can see, so yours may be easier, it may be a little harder, just depends on how rusty the needles are in your U-joint. So now, final disassembly of the U-joint. You need to push the trunnion of the U-joint cross all the way through a yoke ear on one side. Tilt the cross up, pull it out, and now you have the two separate pieces of the shaft to clean up and are ready for a new U-joint.